Hi everyone, welcome to this LinkedIn Live from GSMA Intelligence on Mastering Spectrum Insights. I'm Radhika Gupta, your host for the day, and I'll be taking you through our Spectrum Navigator tool. So, thank you everyone for finding time to join this LinkedIn Live. So, what is this Spectrum Navigator from GSMA Intelligence? And why do you think it is important to talk about Spectrum? Why this tool is going to be really helpful to you? Let me try and explain this with the help of an analogy. And maybe it might not be the best analogy, but I believe it will be the simplest one to explain the importance of having a data set and insights related to spectrum. So, just think of a human being who really invests into themselves, and when you look at them in terms of their appearance, they are wearing maybe the best of the clothes, the latest of the trends and fashion. They are doing really good with their hairs, nails, hands, whatever. So you find them really good, attractive, everything is latest. But let's think about their hemoglobin levels, which are less than the average required. Like, their hemoglobin levels are not doing great. What will happen? I mean, the outer appearance will not matter because the person will be tired, lethargic, and they will not be able to deliver to their best. So, talking of spectrum, spectrum is like that blood for the network. Like that blood in your body, it is the blood for the network. So an operator might have the best of network infrastructure, network assets. They might be running their networks on cloud, AI enabled, and their open architectures. Could be anything, could be the latest of technologies, latest of developments, but they don't have access to right, adequate, and sufficient spectrum. So their networks will not deliver the best of the performance, and therefore it is really, really important to understand the spectrum landscape for everyone in the industry, for everyone in the ecosystem. And this is where this tool will help you to understand the entire global landscape. Now, what is Spectrum Navigator from GSMA Intelligence? Spectrum Navigator is a toolkit wherein you will get access to a database tool where you can access the entire data set on Spectrum, a global data set, and then you also get access to some exclusive data sets which is not available on the tool that I'm going to show you today, but you get access to them separately. And obviously the ongoing research publications from GSM Intelligence on the topic. I will be taking you through one of our quarterly research report as well towards the end. So without further ado, let's dive straight into the spectrum tool. But before we do that, I want to remind everyone that please keep on leaving your thoughts, views, questions into the comments. And if the time permits towards the end of this session, we'll be taking your questions from the comments, or we will look to answer your comments post the session. So please continue to leave your thoughts and comments in the chat box, and please repost this session so that it can reach more and more people. So I will now move on to explaining this data tool on Spectrum that GSM Intelligence offers and the rich data sets that you will get access to. So to access this tool, obviously you have to have a subscription to the tool on GSM Intelligence website. It is one of the products. And when I go to the Spectrum page, this page will pop up. So I will go to the Spectrum dashboard on this page, and this tool will upload. Just give it a second or two to upload. So as you can see, this is a very comprehensive tool here. This is in a form of a form and shape of a dashboard, and we have various reports on this tool. So if I have to explain it or summarize it in one line, I would say with the help of this tool, you can use different lenses, or you can wear different lenses to get insights into the global spectrum landscape. And I will be showing you all those different lenses today. So this is the dashboard. You will get access to these 7 reports on the tool, and every report offers you a different view. As I said, different lenses, and within every report also you will have an opportunity to look at the same data from different angles. So, before I go into the reports, the respective reports, I just want to tell everyone that there are various filters available on every report, because by default, the data that you will see here is global, and because of the global data, you hardly see anything. So, you can go specific on filters. You can apply a regional filter, a country specific filter within those regions, like this. You can apply filters by various stages of license life cycle. I can explain those life cycles very briefly, but it's like, as you can see, it's active, expired, future license. So these are the various categories of license. On every report, the default filter will be on the active license category, because that is the most important one, which basically means this is the active spectrum license with any operator or in this country. And the other categories, like expired, is self explanatory. This license has expired with an operator. Future license means this has been assigned to an operator but will start in future. And reallocated means when they rearrange the channel bandwidth within a frequency to harmonize the spectrum. So these are the various life cycle stages that you can apply a filter on. And obviously you can apply a filter on the frequency band, specific frequency band, or you can go by band groups also. So like, you can look at the entire mid band, or you can go specific on frequencies within these. The way we define as band groups here at GSM Intelligence is: low band means anything below 1 gigahertz, mid band means anything between 1 to 7, and high band means anything above 24 gigahertz. So this is how the band grouping is done. And again, you can apply a filter on timeline, either going on these calendars or by dragging this left right. So just to give an example, let me start with a country here. Let me go for Argentina. So, as the name of the report indicates, National Spectrum Assignment, here you will get to see the assignments that a country has made in various frequency bands. This is a country level spectrum assignment. As you can see, the name of the first report is Megahertz Total by Frequency Band. So, this particular graph or chart here tells you that Argentina has assigned 70 megahertz in 700, 22 megahertz in 800, 15 in 850, 70 megahertz in AWS band, which is 1700 slash 2100, and so on. And if, let's say, there's a case wherein there is a wave assignment, maybe, I think I can think of. Yeah. So, like in case of Thailand, we have wave assignment also, and now you are struggling to read the numbers in this bar. So the good feature about this tool is we have dynamic access. So I adjust my axis, my bar goes up, and now I can read the numbers. So this is what you can also do on this tool. If you want to export the data, you can click on these three dots, you can export the data, and you can then use that data to create your own charts, use it in analysis. So that option is available. You can snip these images and you can embed them directly into your graph, presentations, analysis, and so on. And wherever you see click for more detail, when you click for more detail, the same data will show up in the tabular form, and you will also get access to additional pieces of information. Like here you can see paired and unpaired is available, which was not available in the chart. So paired means FDD duplex and unpaired means TDD duplex. So how is this total megahertz comprised of, how much FDD and how much TDD? You get access to this information. So I think that's about this particular report. Coming on to the next one, which is megahertz total by planned license. Let me look at another example here. Let's go back to Germany. Yes. So when I look at, let me adjust the axis a little bit. Yeah. So you see two colors here, right? First and foremost, the planned megahertz total by planned license report basically tells you all the upcoming assignments in a country. So you can look at the spectrum pipeline in that particular country. Now you see two colors here, red and black. Both have their significance. As you can see here in the legend, a black means planned under consultation, and a red means planned confirmed. you should be more, I would not say worried, but you should pay more attention to the planned confirmed cases, which is the red one here, because a planned under consultation means that the respective body in the country, which is either the regulatory body or the ministry of country, has open consultation on this particular frequencies, and they are inviting and gathering views from the industry. It necessarily does not mean that this assignment or auction for sure will go ahead, but when we show something in plan confirmed, it means that the consultation process is over, if there was any consultation process, and the respective body in the country, whatever is the respective body for holding the spectrum assignments or auctions, they are going ahead with the assignment of this particular frequency. And this is the megahertz total, this is the block total spectrum that they are going to assign in the band. And when you hover on it, you also see a little bit of more information on assignment date. But if you want more detailed information, I will again click on more detail here, and I see more information like what is going to be the assignment date, and if corresponding 3GPP and NR bands are available, that also shows up here. In this case they are not available, but if they are available, that also shows up here. So that is about the upcoming assignments or planned license. And as I said, on the same report itself, you can see information from different lenses. So herein I saw that what what is the block size that every country has assigned in various frequencies. Now if I want to look at the same information by the band groups, so in Germany, in low band a total of 190 megahertz of spectrum has been assigned, and in mid band a total of 769 megahertz of spectrum has been assigned. And this band grouping is helpful to a lot of people, because then they can compare how country A is faring versus country B or country C. Or I can say this country is the pioneer in 5G success, 5G rollout launch. So let's look at their spectrum portfolio. What is the holding they actually have in mid band? What is the holding they have in low band? So this band grouping is very, very useful. And in case a country has assigned any spectrum specific to FWA use, that data shows up here in this chart. So let me think of a country where we had FWA data just to show you an example. I think we have something in Argentina. And yes, so in case of Argentina, Argentina has assigned 20 megahertz of spectrum in 700 purely for FWA use. We are talking about mobile fixed wireless here. And again in AWS band 1700 slash 2100, Argentina has assigned a 20 megahertz of spectrum. So if there are any FWA specific assignments in the country, that also shows up here in this particular graph, FWA network generation. So that is about the National Spectrum Assignment Report. I will now move on to the next one, which is Operator Spectrum Assignment. As the name indicates, you get to see the operator spectrum portfolio here. In the last report, we were looking at the country level spectrum assignments. Herein, you will see what every single operator holds in respective frequency bands or by band groups. Again, we have two different views here. One, you can look at the information by various band groups. So in low band, like if I hover on this, this is Argentina total. Claro in Argentina has 30 megahertz, then Movistar has 20, then Telecom Argentina has 50. Similarly, you can look at the information in the mid-band group by various operators. And if you want to look at specific frequencies, you obviously have the option to apply filters, or you can scroll down to the page. And in the second chart, you can see we have the information by specific frequencies against every operator. Like Claro has 20, 1700, 2100, 13, 2600. Movistar has 30 megahertz in 2600, and so on. And very quickly, if you were struggling to read information here in this manner, there's an option here that's available on every particular chart graph. You can look at the information as a table also. So when I clicked on show as a table, I come down and I can see the information in a tabular form. Okay, in low band, Claro has 30, Movistar has 20, Personal has 50, and similarly in mid band. So that is another option. Similarly, if I go on this and I say, show me this information as a table, so I see the graph and I see all the information in a tabular form as well. So this is the operator level details on the operator specific report. As I said, wherever you see a click for more detail, you can click on this to get more information. And herein, obviously, you see the block size every operator has in different frequencies, but you see the information on corresponding 3G, PP, and NR bands. And you also get additional information on whether it was FDDD or TDD, called as paired or unpaired here. I'll go back to the report. I will move on to the third report within the tool, which is planned spectrum assignment. And as the name indicates, herein you can look at all the upcoming assignments or the pipeline of spectrum assignments for that particular country. This report has two elements or features to it. One is there's a map, and because I have a default filter on Argentina here, I'll clear that filter. Yes. So now you see the global map. So what you can also do is you can just click on any country within the map. This is an interactive report, interactive tool. So I can click on any country within the map and the data will automatically update for that particular country. I just clicked on India in this map, and now the table that I see here gives me details of all the planned confirmed assignments in India. Because the filter here is planned confirmed, I can look at planned under consultation also. And then you get to see information on when this is expected to assign, what is the corresponding 3GPP and NR band, the date that we are giving you as assignment date, whether that was reported or has been estimated by us. How should you read the date? Date format as month and year. So month means this particular month you should refer to sometime in August. Year means this particular year you should refer to, and so on. And again, you can click for more detail and you will see a detailed information here. Just to remind, planned under consultation and confirmed were the two options available to look at the future assignments or upcoming assignments. Planned under consultation means that the responsible body in the country has open consultation process on it. Not necessarily they will open the auction or assignment for it. And a plan confirmed means that they have confirmed the details of auction, assignment, whatever way the assignment will happen. It could be beauty contest, it could be direct assignment, it could be auction. So whatever way the assignment will happen, that has been confirmed and there are confirmed details available for it. So that is about the third report, which is the planned assignment. I will now move on to the next report, which is Spectrum Portfolio by Technology. And this in particular is a very, very interesting report because it leverages another data set from GSMA Intelligence, which is our networks product, and wherein we track all the network launches and closures of the mobile operators globally. So for this particular report, the spectrum dataset and networks dataset is merged to give you insights into how the various frequencies or spectrum that has been assigned to operators in different countries and regions are being used to offer different sorts of technologies. So you see three elements here. One is this map. Again, it is interactive, so I can click on any country within the map, like I clicked on China, and everything else on the page updates for China. Or you can apply a filter from here, region and country or frequency band. So the information you will get here is, first piece of information is um, how are different frequency bands used for different network generations. Like in China, 4G is run on 20, 300, 1800, 1900, 2100, 26, 850. And with the size of these, this is called a sunburst chart. And with these sizes, you can get an idea of, okay, 4G is mainly running on 2300, followed by 1800, followed by 1900, and so on. 5G is mainly running on 3500 in China, followed by this, and so on. And you can obviously choose more than one country to draw comparisons. You can choose different regions, you can draw region wide comparison. Like I'll show you now, I have China here, you see 2318 in 4G. I will go to India and you see how this changes, right? And India has equal mix of 18, 21, 23 in 4G. And you can get the same information here in this table as well, wherein I can see, okay, 900 is being used to offer 2G, 1800 for 2G, For 4G, we have 2100, 850, 2300 by various operators, and obviously the block sizes of spectrum that they have in these frequency bands. So herein we can map how different spectrum bands or frequencies are used across different regions, countries, globally by various operators to to offer various technology generations like 2G, 3G, and 4G. I will now move on to the next report, which is license obligation. This is again very interesting report, and I would say this is one of the unique data sets on this tool because in a little bit of secondary or public research, you might still find bits and pieces of information on country level spectrum assignments or operator level spectrum portfolio. But when you talk about information on license obligations, this is something that you will not find anywhere easily in secondary sources or public research. This information is pulled through from the regulatory documents, reading those 200, 300, 400 pages. And the license obligation basically gives you information on whenever there was any spectrum assignment, was there any associated obligation with it that is required to be fulfilled by the winner of that spectrum assignment. And we have divided this into a total of six categories here. It could be geographical coverage related obligation, it could be population coverage related obligation, any obligation related to network deployment, as in these many sites, these many base stations, anything that needs to be done in terms of network investment, open access related obligations, which is subleasing of your spectrum, and anything that doesn't fall in these five categories goes to the sixth one, which is miscellaneous slash other obligations. As you can see by this pivot table sort of matrix tool here, that the most famous are coverage related ones, population coverage and geographical coverage. And we can tell you from because we source this information, we look at the information within coverage related obligations. There are new models emerging. We talk about the coverage gap, we talk about the usage gap globally. So within coverage, countries are now coming up with innovative obligations, such as you have to cover so many rural areas, and I will give you this spectrum at a, I should not say subsidized cost, but at a very rational pricing. The pricing is set at rational, but in return, it's not a coverage which says cover X many people. They say cover these rural areas, cover these specific areas that will help us do with the usage gap or coverage gap, and that will help us drive the digital inclusion in the nation. So there are different innovative models also emerging in these coverage related obligations. So this is a global overview of, the most famous sort of obligations. But if you want to look at the exact obligation, exact operator, exact country, you come down to the second table, and herein you can see Cosmot Greece 400 current license is active. This was assigned on 10th May 2022 by way of auction, and there is a population coverage related obligation. To make it easier, what I can do is I will say only show me those cases where there was corresponding obligation. Now I only get to see the cases. Obviously, I can apply a country filter here. Right now, it's a global data where there is some obligation, either population, geographical, investment. I can see the obligation category in this column. And if I want to read the exact obligation, I will click on more detail here, and now I can see the exact obligation. So if it is population coverage, I can read the exact obligation here. If it is some other coverage, obviously you can scroll down from the page here and you can see, what category it was in. Or if it's a geographical related, I can read the exact coverage obligation that was laid down by the body, regulatory ministry or whatever, any network deployment related obligation that was laid down. So if I want to read those obligations, that is also available. And as I said, you can always export this data and you can use it as you want. I will go back to the report now. So this is the license obligation related data set. Now next we have is license life cycle. Again, this one is very interesting because fine, you get to see, you looked at the operator level spectrum portfolio, you looked at the country level spectrum assignments. But if you want to understand that, what is this total spectrum size comprising of. So if I say operator A in India has a total of hypothetically 40 megahertz in 2100, did operator A get this 40 megahertz in a single go, or did it get it in batches? When was the first batch assigned? When was the second batch assigned? What happened to the first batch? So if you have to map the entire life cycle, this is a page you should be on. And let me again go by some filter. So again, looking at Germany here, let's look. Oh, this is not updated. Yeah. So again, looking at Germany here, let's look at some case. What can okay? I found one. So if you look at this 2100 megahertz for O2 Telefonica, you see three entries here, right? So O2 Telefonica, the assignment date is 20th May 2010. By way of auction, got hold of 29 megahertz of spectrum for a period of 15 years, expiring in 25. Then in 2014, 1st October 2014, O2 Telefonica again got hold of 20 megahertz in 2100. And this has come to it not by way of auction but by way of transfer. This is I talked about the different stages or different ways you can get a license. So, by way of transfer means that O2 Telefonica would have acquired some company, and as a result of that acquisition, O2 also got access to its spectrum assets. So, by way of acquisition, O2 got access to spectrum assets, and 20 megahertz in 2100 was part of that. So, by way of transfer, O2 got 20 megahertz more in 14, and then on 12th June 2019, it again got a 10 megahertz, thereby making the total to be 29, 20, and 10 to be 59. So ideally, O2 should have 59 megahertz in 2100, which it got in three batches, all of them live as of now because I can see license life cycle is active. Let's go back to the operator spectrum report and see whether or not this is true. 2100 for O2, let's look at it. And that's true. 59 we said, this is round, that is rounded off. Here we have more precise data, 58.90. So while on this report you only get to see the total spectrum that O2 has in a particular band, this report will tell you how O2 got hold of that spectrum. So it helps you map the license life cycle. And because the filter was only active here, but you can always look at more cases, like if I choose expired or transferred, does it change things here? Let's go back to the 2100 example. And yes, it does change things because you see we have added entry in expired, another entry in expired. So apparently at a point in time, O2 had more spectrum in 2100, some of which got expired in 2020. So this ways you can map the entire life cycle if you want to. And also you see a column here, expiry category. This column is again very interesting because let me simplify this by going back to just the active again. Yes, so now expiry category also tells you which spectrum is going to expire soon for which operator, in which country, which region. You can apply your own filters, but O2 Telefonica, this 2100 that we were talking about that it got in 2010 is expiring soon in 2025. Again, Vodafone. So for everyone, 2100 is expiring soon, which means the tenure to 2100 in Germany is going to come to an end in 2025, and there should be the renewal or new assignment for it very soon. Similarly, look at expiry category, the licenses which will be expiring in more than 2 years. So you have different expiry categories here: less than 1 year, 1 to 2 years, and more than 2 years. So you can apply that filter and you can see which licenses are going to expire soon, which will expire 2 years down the line, and so on. And that is where you map the license life cycle from various lenses. And the last one, this is again very interesting, not very common information. You will not find this information easily, is the blockwise spectrum assignment. Now, I mentioned that, going back to the O2 example where I showed you, fine, O2 has 60 megahertz in 2100. The life cycle report told us how O2 got hold of those 60 megahertz. But within those 60 megahertz, if you want to look at the exact blocks that O2 has, because it got 20 in a single go, 20 in another go, 10 in another go, and so on. So if you want to look at the exact blocks or channels, as we say, you will find that information here. O2 has 1940 to 45 in uplink, 2130 to 35 in downlink, in 2100 then it has 1945 to 50, 54.95 to 59.90. So exact channel bandwidth in different frequencies, and obviously depending on whether it's FDD or TDD, you will get to see the downlink. If it's TDD, obviously there will not be any downlink, but if it is FDD, you will see both uplink and downlink. And in cases wherein there are, the same bandwidth is divided into not the harmonized spectrum, there are different channels, so there will be more than one uplink and downlink. And to look at that information, you can click on more detail here. You scroll to the right of the page, and in cases where there are more than one uplink and downlink in the same frequency, different channels are being assigned, you will find that information here. So that covers most of the report on this tool. Just a few reminders. You can apply various filters, as I mentioned. I might have missed something, so I will just verbally repeat that you can look at information not just by frequency bands. You can look at information by the 3GPP and NR bands also. When you click on more detail in a number of reports, you have the same information in a 3GPP and NR band column as well. So you can, if you want to do some sort of data usage or analysis by those bands, that option is available. The default filter is always on active, which means by default it will only show you those cases wherein spectrum is active. Doesn't mean you can look at other categories, you just need to choose them by applying filter. You can look at global information, you can look at regional information, you can look at country-wide information, you can look at operator specific information, frequency wise information, and so on. And one very important thing to note here is this particular tool here only gives you information on national level spectrum assignments. So in countries, like if I talk about India, I'm sitting in India right now. India does regional assignment, circle wise assignment. Um, a lot of American countries also does a lot of regional assignments. So you will not find the regional spectrum assignments here, you will only find those assignments wherein the license was assigned on a national level. And the reason for doing so is because if I start to include the regional figures here alongside the national figures, it will not be an apple for apple comparison, and it can mislead, especially when people are drawing comparison. So I might have a very high spectrum block in one particular region, but a low spectrum block on a national level. And when that high spectrum block on a regional level is compared with another operator who has national level spectrum block, but let's say a low number, a small size, I might say operator A is doing well, but that's not correct, because operator A has access to only regional spectrum, right? So that's why we avoid showing regional spectrum here, because regional and national are not apple to apple comparisons. It can mislead the user in terms of drawing comparison. So this tool, the whatever data you see on this tool is all national level assignments. um, Let me just try and think what else do I want to mention here before I forget. um, so by default filter is active, national level spectrum assignments, the frequency of update, we update this information on a 15-day basis. So basically thereby meaning every piece of information that you are seeing on this tool right now has been updated until the end of September. We are now making updates for a period of 1st to 15th October, and those updates for the period of 1st to 15th October are expected to finish by 30th October. So we follow a 15-day cycle every 15 days. So basically it's a regular update for the past 15 days. So it's a regular update, but the latest information that you see here will be in a 15 days cycle. So that's the frequency of update. In terms of where do we source this information from, it is sourced from public and authentic sources. When I say authentic sources, this has to be the documents that are filed with the regulator, or the documents that regulator publish when an assignment is complete, the documents that telcos or the winners of spectrum filed with the respective stock exchanges as a matter of disclosure. So I am not going to pick any information from a news article or media article that says this spectrum was assigned on this price, this block size. No, we are not going to do that. It has to come from very, very authentic sources, which are mostly the regulator submissions and regulator publications. So, publications by operators on their respective websites or their filings to the stock exchange, or any revelation of information by operator in their quarterly filings, or annual reports, quarterly reports. So only these pieces of information we cover, rely, and trust on. No third party sources, no news articles, no public media, no, very authentic sources. um I think that covers the most on this tool. I would stop my screen share for a bit before I move on to the next one. There are, as I said, this is a complete toolkit. So, more than this tool, you get access to other pieces of information as well. So, before I move on to those other pieces of information, I will pause for a bit and then I will share my next screen. I see there are a lot of questions coming in the comments, but just allow me a few more minutes to talk you through the other offerings within the tool, and then I will try to take as many questions as I can. So, as I said, this is a toolkit. So, you get access to this complete database tool. Then, you get exclusive access to our network sunsets data set. Um, and you must be jumping on that one because getting access to a comprehensive network data set, I would say this is more of a complementary offering with this product, but this is a very, very comprehensive data set. And let me share my screen again to show you. So this is the network sunset data set that you will also get access to with the Spectrum Navigator tool. This is just the definitions and notes section. Going into the actual data set, we have been maintaining this data set from the time when people were probably not even talking a lot about the network sunsets. We have been maintaining this, making regular updates to this since 2015. So this is as old, and you can just gauge the comprehensiveness and completeness of the information here. As I can see, we already have 266 entries covered here. You can see region, country name. This column is irrelevant. The operator name from technology generation, which means this is the technology generation that they have either shut down or planning to, which frequencies they are running this network on, because as a result of this shutdown, the spectrum in this frequency will now be available to the operator for further use. They can use it for higher generations of technology. The status, whether this has been planned or completed, so you can see the completed ones, or whether it is planned. Sunset start date, when did they start to sunset this technology? Start date is not available in a lot of cases, but wherever it is available we do cover it. Then we have a completion date. When is this sunset expected to complete? And the completion date is based on operator announcement. So we are not estimating this date. So if an operator is saying I'll sunset my 3G by 2025, we will have that date. And if they have announced any plans on that, how will they use the vacated spectrum in these frequencies? So if they say I will be using it for my 4G, I will be using it for both 3G, 4G, or 5G. Again, if that information is available, it is mentioned here in the two technology generation column. So you can use this data set for a number of purposes, analysis, which is going to be the year of shutdowns, which technology is getting shut down more, 2G or 3G. What has happened? Yeah, which technology is getting shut down more, 2G or 3G? What are the upcoming sunsets? How will it impact me as a player in the industry? Am I a device manufacturer? Do I offer some sort of network equipment? Oh, everyone is shutting down 3G, and 3G was running mostly in 2100 everywhere. Does my equipment use 2100 for 3G? So all those sort of analysis comes really helpful with the help of this data set for various players in the ecosystem. Um, what time period most of the shutdowns are happening, how much time an operator is taking between sunset start and completion date. So this is the transitionary phase, which not only an operator gets, but the associated ecosystem with the operator also gets that time to transition their devices running on those frequency bands or those technology. So this is the network sunset data set that you get access to along with the Spectrum Navigator tool. And yeah, that's about the network sunset. And I will again stop sharing my screen. Please keep on leaving your questions and thoughts in the comments. We'll come to those very soon. And I will go on to the last section of this offering. As I said, this is a complete toolkit, so you get access to research publications as well. So I will just show you one of the research report, which is a quarterly publication using the data sets that I just showed you. But obviously, because it's a research publication, you get access to analysis and insights. So I'll now move on to sharing that research report that you will get access to. So using this data set, we run analysis every quarter. We create and publish this Spectrum Navigator report, and it gives you a lot of insights beyond the raw data that you saw on the tool. I will try to run through this quickly so that we can look at some of the comments and questions. As you can see the index here, you have a summary slide, you have details on spectrum for 5G, spectrum for previous generation networks, and obviously a little bit about Spectrum Navigator. So summary is this key developments from, let me just, yeah. Summary is key developments from the last quarter. So basically, because this report is published on a quarterly basis across six major headings within the spectrum landscape, we try to track the key developments in the last quarter, like what is happening in spectrum for 5G, what is happening in spectrum for previous generation networks, how is the spectrum pricing looking like. So if you remember, when I was doing the demo of the tool, I talked about how different forms of obligations, coverage obligations are coming in picture. So we noted one such case here. Connectivity is the new currency for spectrum fee payment. So Peru allowed its operators to settle up to 60% of their annual license fee through the deployment of 4G telephone and internet coverage. Previously, this was allowed up to 40, they increased it to 60. So, this is very interesting information. These are the different new models that are coming in picture. What is happening with the previous generation networks? Network shutdowns on the rise. Mostly assignments are now technology neutral rather than technology specific. What is happening in spectrum for 5G? Industry is still divided on the use of 6 gigahertz for IMT, but positive developments continue. Countries are looking to free 26 gigahertz for 5G. If they were using it for microwave services, backhaul services, they are now looking to free this up to be used in IMT RAN services. What is happening in the spectrum regulation? What are the new assignment models that we saw, or what was something different that we saw in the spectrum assignment in last quarter, and anything else that doesn't fit in those five categories? Like, we saw spectrum leasing for satellite services, US reserved lower part of 12 gigahertz for satellite use, and so on. Then the spectrum trends in 2023. This slide is updated once a year, and then for the 4 quarters, this remains constant because we are noting the trends for the year. So now in the next publication, we will be updating this slide for the 2024 trends as we are coming to a close for 2023. But we know the trends that we expect in the next year here. And then moving on to spectrum for 5G. Now you can see here how many countries have assigned 5G specific spectrum, how many assigned in the last quarter, how many of these 79 have already assigned 5G specific spectrum and are planning more assignments, how many are planning for the first time. Then you can look at the information how many countries have assigned 5G specific spectrum in low band, mid band, high band, so on. If you want to look at the list of those countries, that's coming right to you in the next slide. So you can look at the list of those 79 countries, or those who have completed spectrum assignment for 5G in red. Out of those red ones which are planning more spectrum assignment, you see them in green. And the ones that are planning any 5G specific spectrum assignment for the first time, you see them in black. So you get the actual country names here. Then the assignment pipeline, the future auctions or assignments that are going to happen in low band, mid band, high band. You see country codes here, you see the names of countries in the text here. Then the specific assignments which happened in the last quarter, the month, country, the names of the winner, which frequency band, what was the block size, and here you get access to pricing information as well. What was the final price paid for this particular block and for this particular spectrum? So this is the spectrum assignment from the last quarter. And because wave is such an important band when we comes to talk about 5G and use cases like FW and so on, so a complete holistic view of wave, which countries have assigned wave for 5G. Please note that when we talk about wave assignments here, we are tracking data since 2021 because we are only talking about wave assignments for 5G. If an operator already holds an wave band for backhaul or other services, you will not see it here. Some of the latest wave spectrum assignments, the block size, which particular frequency band, winners, and then some summary statistic, how many operators, how many countries, how many more planning. Those summary statistics are here in the market update on the right. This is my favorite slide in personally, this is my favorite slide, 5G spectrum by band range, because herein you can see the life cycle, you know, going from trials for 5G to assignment to launches, how the composition of various band groups is changing. So a lot of trials are happening in wave band or more than 24 gigahertz. But by the time you reach to the assignment stage, the number is going down. And by the time you reach to actual launches, you know, mid band is dominating it, following by low band, and there are not a lot of launches in wave. There's a lot of interest, as we can see in the trials, but by launches, you know, this is just going down. So why is that happening? Ecosystem is not developing, taking time, chicken and egg situation, all those sort of questions and answers you will find in this deck. And obviously the summary statistics again from trials, assignment and launches. Then you can see information on 5G network launches by spectrum frequencies, which bands are getting used most for 5G launches. You can see 3500, followed by 21 in low band, 700, and so on. So the 3.5 gigahertz accounts for majority of the launches till date. This information is based on the cases wherein we had the corresponding frequency band information available when we were taking note of the launch. In case we had no frequency available, the entry went into the not reported case, which again is a big number, but based on where this was available, this is how the data looks like. Then because when an operator doesn't get access to the required spectrum for 5G launch, they resort to various techniques like shutdowns, DSS. So, what is the current status with DSS? How many countries, how many operators have deployed DSS for 5G launches, and so on? The names of those countries and divided between launched and planned, and some analysis on pricing, how the spectrum pricing for low band is looking like, what was the price paid for some of the recent auctions, similarly how the pricing is looking like for mid band and high band. So pricing analysis, pricing data, average price paid per gigahertz per pop per year measured in PPP. And then you get to see the same set of slides for previous generation networks, so everything before 5G, 4G, 3G, 2G, the assignment pipeline, some of the recent assignments in the last quarter. Again, how the frequency portfolio looks like. And I showed you that network sunsets data. So using that data and analysis on how the network sunsets are looking like, which is going to be the year of network sunset, which region is leading in 2G, 3G, and so on. And some of the latest migrations, you know, the spectrum migration, when there's a sunset, the spectrum gets available, so it gets migrated for to another technology for use. So whether that's completed, in progress, some of the latest spectrum migration. And that brings me to the end of this report, because then you have the link to our Spectrum Navigator. So, this is a quarterly publication that you will get access to alongside other topical publications on spectrum, or other spectrum related publications that we will do. But because this is quarterly, this comes for sure every quarter, and that completes the toolkit on Spectrum Navigator that we offer. I will now quickly utilize the last 5-8 minutes to answer as many questions as I can. Just give me a second and I'll read through the questions. What is the data source? How often is the data updated? So I already answered this question. The data is updated on a 15-day cycle, and the source is public information, but very, very authentic sources, the regulatory submissions, publications, the submissions from operators to stock exchanges to regulators, and their publications on the respective websites. What do different numbers under the different categories of license obligations denote? So the different numbers under the different categories of license obligation that you saw on the report basically gives you a summary of within the population coverage. If I'm looking at the 2100 row, so globally, X number, that numbers tell you that within 2100, X number of population coverage related obligations have been laid out. If 2100 was, let's say, assigned in hypothetically 150 countries and a total of 400 operators. So out of those 400 assignment, there was some population coverage related obligation for 2100 in, let's say, 200 cases. So that number will tell you this, that out of total assignments in that frequency band, how many had population coverage related obligation or geographical coverage or investment deployment related, whatever category you are looking at in that matrix. What about non-public spectrum allocation? Uh, I'm not sure if I understand this question correct, but we only track the licensed spectrum here. So if there is any unlicensed assignment, or if there is like CBRS in US, we are not tracking that on this tool. As I said, I'm not sure if I got this question correct, but it is only the licensed spectrum assignments that we are tracking, if I am on the right track in terms of understanding the question. How about the unlicensed, licensed private spectrum? Are you showing in the tool spectrum like 6 gigahertz? Show how is the assignment for unlicensed band 102 for Wi-Fi and for license for 3GPP would. Okay, so I think I partly answered this question already. We are only tracking the license spectrum assignment, no unlicensed, no Wi-Fi, no satellite at this stage. We are tracking a little bit of private assignment, but not on the tool in our backend database. Coming to the question on tracking it for 6 gigahertz, if it is assigned in a licensed manner for IMT use, you will find it on the tool. So the disclaimer is it has to be for IMT use, it has to be a licensed spectrum, and it has to be assigned on a national level. You will find it on the tool. Target addressable markets for this tool would be, mm, I am not sure I understand this question. Target addressable markets for this tool will be, we have, I am not sure if I understand this question, but we have global data. We have data for every operator, every country, every region. So I would say global coverage, global market in terms of who should be the users of this tool. I believe probably the entire ecosystem. As I said, spectrum is like a, the way you see the role of blood in a human body, that's the role spectrum plays in a network architecture and infrastructure. Spectrum is critical for everyone, not just for operators to have the right and adequate amount of spectrum, but it's critical for the players in the ecosystem to understand the global spectrum landscape, the regional spectrum landscape, the portfolio that operator has, how are those spectrum various frequency bands used for what technology generations, how are the life cycles looking like, because your developments will depend on what operators can do with this spectrum. So if you don't understand the market correct, if you don't understand those dynamics correct, we could be just going down the Great. Okay, I think I will now look to wind up. There are more questions and comment left, but we will look to address them directly below the video. Please leave your comments and we will look to address them there. Before I wind this up, thank you everyone for taking time to join this LinkedIn live. And if you want to know more about the product, if you want to have another demo, want to look at a sample data set, please write us at service sales support at gsma.com. Services, services, services sales support at gsma.com, and we can arrange another demo for you. We can give you the sample data set, we can answer your questions. So please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you for your time.